Alright, so this is another speedrun of the TodoMVC app. This is my second published one, and I did it quite a bit better. So the main thing I learned from this time around is that if I try to do things too formally, it's not going to be great. It's going to be slow, so this is the not safe for work version. I would not recommend any of these patterns of what you're about to see in the actual workplace. I would reject a PR that does what you are about to see. But kind of starting here, I'm adding a bunch of imports at the top, and my plan is to kind of just have everything in one file. Because one thing I learned yesterday was that the more I have to hop between files, that's more chances for misspellings, as I need to import the same things over and over again. And I've also started trying to omit spaces when I can. So the spacebar takes a lot of time to type, so I'm trying to just remember to not use it when I'm assigning variables. I've also started using let instead of const because it's 2 letters shorter, and ultimately I don't really care which is used in real code because linting usually corrects it for me anyway. So on the right you'll see that tests are red, and on the left, you'll see that there are some exports. The tests require some exports in order to work, and that is so that they can reset state. Using module level state is really bad. You don't want to do that in an actual project, but it is faster than using some proper state, which is easier to test and work with. Normally, what you'd want to do is use a service and have dependency injection so you can use that service within your components and not have to worry about tracing import paths everywhere. So another technique I started doing was just not worrying about new lines or formatting at all. You'll see that sometimes I have a hard time breaking the habit, but I'm relying on Prettier to auto-format the code whenever I save. And I've also started using Prettier as a way to make sure I don't have any syntax errors, because if I have a syntax error, it's not going to format. So before we get to UI, I need to set up all of the data management. I'm loading and saving from local storage because a To-Do app needs to be able to survive browser refreshes. Though you'll see as the browsers on the right are refreshing as I save that the state will not be persisted, and that is because the tests are clearing local storage before and after every test. Normally you wouldn't be running tests when you're actually using the app, but yeah, so just adding some convenience getters and now some methods for this one in particular is going to add a new to-do. I'm using arrow functions here because they automatically bind the this for the class instance. And every time I perform an action within one of these methods, I'm going to call the save method. That ensures that the local storage is always up to date with what you're seeing on the screen. All right, and we just got a couple more methods here in the repo class. I think this is the last one. Yeah. So this class is called repo because it's short for repository. It's just some leftover naming conventions from like the original TodoMVC implementation that I copied a while back. So here I noticed that the build in the bottom middle was red, and I quickly found a typo and corrected that. A lot of times when I'm doing these speedruns, I don't save often enough, and I've already passed the typo, and I can't find it quick enough, because when you're missing one character, it can be really evasive. So oftentimes I'll just start the whole thing over again. Now, as I'm typing out these convenience methods, something I've noticed that I need to fix in my editor is that I need better IntelliSense and autocomplete. Now it's possible that TypeScript could provide that. I'm not using TypeScript here. I didn't want to worry about types, but I probably should have the language server enabled when I'm working in JavaScript. So here, this method is going to help configure the document title depending on which list we're going to be looking at. We're going to have 3 different lists: the list of all to-dos, the list of active to-dos, and then the completed to-dos. And the logic for these, the title and the to-dos, is going to be the exact same. And now that... oh, there's another syntax error here. Yeah, forgotten equals. Yeah, so as you saw, Prettier added all of the spaces. That's really handy. It's a good visual periphery indicator that I have a correct syntax throughout my document. As I got to here, I noticed as I was typing along that I had some typos, and then those typos kind of messed up my tag completion, which is a little unfortunate. This is something that I'm going to have to look into for later, because this whole speedrun process has really helped me find gaps in my editor experience, where normally I just put up with stuff because I'm not writing a ton of UI code these days, but I don't want to put up with things, and I know that a lot of people maybe put up with stuff and don't complain as much as they should. So if I fix those things, maybe they'll get some benefit. So here I'm calling title. Title was imported at the top of the document. That was from Ember page title. That'll set the document title. And then calling to-do list and footer. I'm just going to stub out some components right here, because if I save this, the browser is going to error because the components don't exist. So we want to make sure those exist before we save. And you can see on the right that the tests say that create to-do is not defined. That's true. Inside the header, we have create to-do, which is being defined right now. And all we're going to do is take the value from the input field and create a new to-do when the enter key is pressed. Now, normally you'd use a form for this, but the TodoMVC project, for the styles that it gives us out of the box, does not support great accessibility patterns. So something else you'll notice as we type out these components is that accessibility is really bad. A screen reader person is not going to have any way of knowing what's going on here. That was done for the sake of speed, and also because the original TodoMVC doesn't really do anything with accessibility testing. So here now we're making our list. We want to hide the list if there aren't any to-dos. So doing that now. And what's kind of goofy about the TodoMVC implementation, or whole set of projects, is that the checkbox for toggling all of the to-dos completion is within the to-do list structure. Normally when I do these sort of things myself, I would prefer the toggle all button to be outside of the list component, but here it is combined. Just kind of in part due to how the CSS is made. And we don't have any control over the CSS in this case, so we're kind of just sticking with that pattern for now. So as you can see, I'm just now getting to iterating over the to-dos, and my formatting is basically a disaster. After I make a little bit more progress, I'm going to save, and then Prettier's going to format this. And if I don't have any syntax issues, oh, the C, yeah, there it went. That looks kind of nice. But yeah, Prettier's pretty good with these speedrun things. There's one thing that it might just be my editor thing. I need to check in VS Code actually, and probably redo this speedrun in VS Code. But sometimes my cursor position gets a little messed up after Prettier runs, and that's not ideal. So anyway, moving on to the to-do item. Here we're setting some classes based on the status of the to-do. And then we have another toggle input checkbox. And again, just throwing formatting to the wind. Hitting return myself and kind of indenting to make it look nice myself was wasting a lot of time. If you watch my other speedrun, the one published just before this, I take twice as long to do the whole app, and a lot of time is lost in messing with indenting, closing tags, and well, also debugging. So I did a lot of preparation for this, and it's still not perfect. I still make some mistakes, but in general, my goal is to not ever need to debug during these speedruns, because that's, like, if you need to think, you're going to lose a lot of time. So my goal here is to not think at all and to kind of just, like, dump all the text onto the screen. Okay, this is the edit input. Good. All right, so now we're down to the footer. We're almost there. Oh, yeah, no, we got to implement all these functions that the to-do item needs. So before tests can make progress, right now we have 15 failing tests. We got to implement all of these functions that are referenced within the to-do item component. So it's here, start editing. What is that going to do? That's going to change some CSS. There are some properties that are used for both the to-do item and within the to-do list that change based on the editing state. And yeah, we gotta focus. All right, what's next here? Yeah, when we're done editing, we gotta unset all of that state. Now, having the tests running on the right has been a really good indicator of if I make a mistake or if I need to start over, because just glancing over at the error, I can see if the error is something I expect. Like in this case, I haven't finished implementing the function yet. So that's a lot better situation than like having some syntax error elsewhere, which sometimes the page doesn't load, sometimes the server in the bottom middle just gives up. That's not a good place to be in. All right, item key down. So this is handling enter and escape. So here we're going to blur because the blur event is bound up above to done editing. So if we press enter, we can kind of chain the call to done editing and then also defocus the field, which is kind of nice. All right, so now item label is used in the footer, and this is for pluralization, and I don't know if there's a better way to do pluralization, but it kind of feels like there should be. Like I know there's full libraries for doing like proper internationalization, which can include pluralization, but we don't want to do that here because we're trying to do this as fast as possible. So now creating the footer, we need to annotate the number of active to-dos left. All right, and now we're going to add some navigation links. These navigation links are fake, which is another reason why this is not safe for work, is we're using fake links. We don't have an href, and we've bound a click event handler to the anchors. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you're new to Ember, I don't know how much I should explain during these actually, but the on modifier here is like a shortcut for add and remove event listener, good for managing memory when elements are removed. And then there's probably a bunch of syntax stuff in here that might be unfamiliar, so maybe a topic for another time. But here I'm just updating all of the links. All right, we're looking good. We have one failing test, and I probably should have kept going without looking, because this is one thing I keep forgetting a lot on these speedruns is this clear completed button. So like most of the time I'll finish the filters and then I'll be like, all right, I'm done. And then the tests fail. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the clear completed button again. But there we go. Test pass, I'm done. 1451 is when I got to the end. And here's what to-dos look like. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, it helps a lot. Thank you.